All right, guys, here we are for the mid-year book freakout tag. If you have been around BookTube for any amount of time, you will know the mid-year book freakout tag is the tag that almost every booktuber does to kind of get an idea of what the last 6 months has looked like for them. And I kind of feel like mine's going to be a little all over the place because of what I have let myself get involved in and all that stuff. But I'm very excited to do this tag, and I'm also very excited for a reset for the next half of the year. So let's get into the questions. Question number 1. What is the best book you've read so far in 2023? This is hard. And guys, I have my Goodreads pulled up showing me what I have read this year. And I don't know. Here's the problem. I've read a lot of sequels this year, or I've read a lot of competition books this year. I think standalone, not part of a series, just amazing book that I read would have to be The Maleficent 7 by Cameron Johnston. Now, also I've been sick for a little while, so I might be a little nasally. I apologize for that. The Maleficent 7. This was pitched to me as Suicide Squad in a fantasy setting, and oh my gosh, yes. That's exactly what this book feels like. I think it is the perfect book for me. You can't pitch a better book to me. This is just something that I went into knowing from what everybody had said that I was going to love it, and it actually exceeded my expectations. So I think this has to take the cake as the best book I've read so far this year. That was not part of a sequel, because the next question is the best sequel I've read so far this year. It's sitting right back here. That would be Engines of Chaos. Now, I have screamed to the heavens for everyone to read Engines of Empire. And that's not going to die, guys, because Engines of Chaos was amazing. It was a wonderful follow-up to Engines of Empire. And I can't even talk about it because so many things happen at the end of Engines of Empire that you have to read that book, to know anything about Engines of Chaos. But R.S. Ford has been able to produce such a great series, and I am so excited for the final book of this. I'm obviously caught up because Engines of Chaos just released a month or two ago, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So question 3 is a new release you haven't read yet but want to. The real legitimate answer to this is so many. There are so many. I have a ton of new releases that I haven't read yet, and then I have a ton of backlist books that I haven't read yet. And so I don't really know how to answer this question because there are some that I'm waiting on. I guess it would be Emperor of Ruin. Django Wexler has that released. Lonesome Crown by Brian Lee Durfee. Yeah, that's the third one. I haven't read that yet. I'm awaiting the audio for it. It was supposed to have released a month or two ago, and it hasn't yet. So those would probably be the two that I could just say, yes, I'm waiting for these. I need them in my hands. Emperor of Ruin, I just haven't come across it yet. I don't know why. I think it's released. I'm pretty sure it's released. If it hasn't yet, then, The Lonesome Crown would have to be the one that I have not read yet that I've been dying to read. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Everybody say it with me. The Traitor by Anthony Ryan. Now, I do have Red River 7 by him as well. And I have the art for it. And I was supposed to read it on vacation. And I didn't read anything on vacation. So there's that. Biggest disappointment. Let's go look at what I've read so far. Okay, yeah, I have to give it to this book. I don't want to, but this book was good. And I'm not going to say this was the worst book I read. I'm going to say this is the biggest disappointment because the worst book I read this year was Darling Girl, bar none. There we go with that. But The Adventures of Mina Al-Sarafi. I loved parts of this book and really just didn't like parts of this book. It gets convoluted in a few places and it goes off on tangents, and I don't like that. I don't like that. I did not like the shift from Daevabad being third person and Amina al-Sarafi being first person, because I think it changed Shannon Chakraborty's writing style a bit to make that shift. And the changes it made, I didn't like. I've enjoyed Daevabad. I've only read the first book, but I've enjoyed that. But Amina al-Sarafi, like, it was okay. It was okay. And after reading the first book of Daevabad, I was expecting a lot more from the newest book from her. Because I'm like, you've got a series under your belt. Your writing should be like so much more than what I've seen so far. I just didn't think it worked. I didn't think the first person worked for her. I didn't think the way the lore was explored was all that interesting. And like I said, there were some things that happened that I was like, oh, why did we do that? Like, why was that a thing? Now, I'm not getting rid of the book because it's the most beautiful book that I own. So that's not happening. Biggest surprise. Well, let me set my computer aside so I can show you the book. In the Lives of Puppets by T.J. Klune. Now, if you saw my wrap-up, you're going to be like, what? Well, I actually ended up liking this book in the end, and I did not expect to. I did not expect to like this book at all. But I ended up thinking the second half of this book was like a 5-star. I thought it was great. And I love the way the book wrapped up. I love the characters. They irritated me at first, but they grew on me. I really ended up liking them. I liked the story. I really liked the way this wrapped up. I thought it was bittersweet. And what I know of T.J. Klune, he always writes a little bit bittersweet endings, but I'm surprised. I'm surprised I liked it. This has to be the biggest surprise of the year so far. Favorite new author? Now, I've read a lot of sequels, like I said, so I'm going to say this because of one book. One book is going to cement this as my new favorite author. Cal Black. No Land for Heroes. You guys can see it up there. She has moved on to my favorites shelf. I have No Port in a Storm. Like, it's sitting right there. I can see it, ready to be read. I was supposed to read that on vacation as well, but No Land for Heroes was such a great debut, and Millie is such a compelling character. I cannot imagine not loving the rest of this series. And whenever I had put No Land for Heroes on my TBR, I automatically like added it to my 5-star predictions, and it got close. It got so close. So I do think No Port in a Storm, from what I know of it, is going to be a 5-star, and might as well just say new favorite author because I loved it. I loved it so much. And if you haven't read No Land for Heroes, it is a fantasy western, and the initial inciting incident is a train robbery gone wrong. I don't want to say much more than that because it would be a little spoilery for what happens, but I loved No Land for Heroes, and I can't wait to get to No Port in a Storm. Now, my physical reading time has kind of collapsed this year, so audio has been what I've been relying on. Because of that, there's no audio for this one yet. So I do hope that my physical reading time I'll gain more of it, and we'll be able to sit down with that, because there are some books that I just need to finish, and there is that one, of course, and my dog is determined to knock over this tripod every single time I set it up. Anyway, yeah, so I'll have to say Cal Black. Newest fictional crush, Millie. I do love Millie. No, I'm going to have to give this to Raven from One Dark Window. Even after reading it, I got on my Discord and I was like, okay guys, listen, I have a new book boyfriend. I love him. And yeah, One Dark Window has one of the greatest male characters I've seen in a while. And he was just so compelling, and his actions were like, I don't know, I just kind of fell in love with him, and can't wait to read the next book in this series and get more Raven. Newest favorite character, okay, we can go Millie. This time I will say Millie from No Land for Heroes, because she is just such a firecracker. I love her. And her backstory, man, I'm ready to delve into that in No Port in a Storm. We got glimpses of it. We got to see her really showcase her abilities in No Land for Heroes, but I'm ready for that backstory. I'm ready for more of what made her who she is. I'm so excited about it. A book that made me cry. In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. Like I said, this book surprised me in a lot of ways, but yes, by the end of In the Lives of Puppets, I was bawling. I was crying. I know I'm saying a lot of the same books and I don't mean to, but you know, whenever a book really hits you, it stays in your mind. So a book that made me happy. I'm gonna have to go with Love Theoretically. There's just something about Ali Hazelwood's writing that I just love. And it always makes me happy to read one of her books. Like, I just go into a very happy place. And I think it's nostalgia, a lot of it, because she writes in a very fan fiction style. And I used to read a lot of fan fiction, not so much anymore. And I think that is because my brain has this thing with like digital reading, doesn't like it, doesn't want to process it. And so ebooks have been difficult for me. Obviously, reading on a computer has been difficult for me. But, you know, having that style in a book just makes me so happy. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. Dang it. I have talked about the two books that I really think are beautiful a couple of times. I did just get a new one that I think is really pretty. Hang on. Okay, this is the newest Fairy Loot book, I believe. Let me take this little character page out here. Shanghai Immortal by A.Y. Chow. This is stunning. Stunning. It's very much in the same style as In the Lives of Puppets, but, you know, obviously the art is different. And then I really love this. So pretty. And here is the hardcover. Also just stunning. And then the back here. So I'm very excited to read this one, but as far as pretty books go, again, I probably won't even get rid of this one because of how pretty it is. Just like with Al-Sarafi. Like, these are so pretty. How do you get rid of them? Now, my thing with the TJ Klune, even though I think it's gorgeous, I love the original cover, and this one is kind of a little bit of a disappointment. Or not this one, but like the Fairy Loot version, because I was really excited for an amped up version of the original cover. Not so much a redo of the cover. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? So many. So I really want to touch on all the books that I said I wanted to read in 2023, like the videos. I want to go back to the videos that I recorded at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year and see what all I have read, have not read, and then go from there. One of the big things moving forward that I want to do is I really need to focus on what I want to read, and the competitions have hindered that. The ARCs have hindered that. Moving forward with ARCs, I am only requesting books that are already on my TBR. I am not going to be accepting books that are not on my TBR, and I'm not going to be accepting any ebooks. I will only be accepting audio. So if you have a review audio copy, I might be interested in it, but I really need to focus on what I want to read. That way, I can get past the competition and the bad taste it left in my mouth and stuff like that, and really start enjoying reading again. And I think June really helped out with that, going back to horror, going back to a few loves of mine, you know, Ali Hazelwood, just stuff like that. But there have been video projects that I want to do. There have been just a few things like I've had planned for the channel that haven't happened because of the competition and because of the way I had let myself fall into some reading habits that were not healthy and fall into some booktubing habits that weren't healthy. So I'm glad for the reset. I'm glad I took a month off. I'm glad that my reading for June was as good as it was, and I'm glad I hadn't picked up anything that I just DNF'd. And I think July is going to be a great month. I really do. It's already starting with a bang. We'll get to that in another video. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and if you want to check out my links, they're down below. See you guys in the next one.